ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम। By His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj's meetings with Kumaras. And we are in the section text 17 to 40, where there is answers given by Sanat Kumarji to the questions of Maharaj. So we come to text 31. भ्रश्यति अनुस्मृतिश्चित्तं ज्ञानभ्रश्यं स्मृतिक्षये तत्क्रोधं कवयः प्राहुः आत्म अपभृतम् आत्मनः. Translation.
When one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge acquired is based on a false foundation. When this occurs, learned scholars consider that the soul is lost. Purport. The living entity or the soul is ever existing and eternal. It cannot be lost. But learned scholars say that it is lost when actual knowledge is not working. That is the difference between animals and human beings. According to less intelligent philosophers, animals have no soul. But factually, animals have souls. Due to the animals' gross ignorance, however, it appears that they have lost their souls. Without the soul, a body cannot move. That is the difference between a living body and a dead body. When the soul is out of the body is called dead. The soul is said to be lost when there is no proper knowledge exhibited. Our original consciousness is Krishna consciousness because we are part and parcel of Krishna. When this consciousness is misguided and one is put into the material atmosphere, which pollutes the original consciousness, one thinks that he is a product of the material elements. Thus, one loses his real remembrance of his position as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as a man who sleeps forgets himself. In this way, when the activities of proper consciousness are checked, all the activities of the lost soul are performed on a false basis. At the present moment, human civilization is acting on a false platform of bodily identification. Therefore, it can be said that the people of the present age have lost their souls. And in this respect, they are no better than animals. Hare Krishna.
So the previous verse talked about losing of the soul. Now here it is completely described what it means to lose one's soul. When one deviates from the original consciousness, he loses his capacity to remember his previous position. Right. And thus, as the remembrance is lost, all the knowledge acquired is based on the false foundation. And when this occurs, it is said that the soul is lost. Soul is lost is also described in Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat sanjayate kamah, kamat krodho vijayate. The complete process. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibrama, smriti bhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. So pranashyati means the soul is, this is how lost. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that soul is eternal and everlasting. So how it is lost? So what it means is the soul is lost means the actual knowledge is not working. Right. It's like you have a batsman and say Bumrah is their bowler and he's supposed to do a pinpoint bowling, right? And then he is standing to his own glory. But a 14-year, 15-year-old kid is coming and hitting him sixes after sixes, then we say, oh, Bumrah is lost. And that doesn't mean that he's. What the point is that one is not functioning up to one's uh, essential capacity. And Prabhupada says this is the difference between animals and the human beings. Because the animals have lost the purpose of life so much, people conclude that animals have no soul. But that is not the case. Animals also have a soul. We have seen that Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini. But the goal of life has become only Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya, Ityadi. Therefore, the animals are considered to be the lost and having without the soul. Right. And this is the same case with Prabhupada says with the human society. When the human society and the consciousness becomes misguided, then the consciousness becomes completely material. And what the soul is supposed to do, the spiritual consciousness, is completely lost. And thus, the soul is considered to be lost. And such a lost soul will consider himself to be, the prodigal son, right? The Jamindar's child, but he is lost in the Mela, considered himself to be a beggar and is begging on the street. Similarly, such a lost soul will consider himself, Paropi Manute Anartham, considered himself to be body and will start acting on the bodily platform. And this is where it is considered that the soul is lost. Text 32. नातः परतरो लोके पुंसः स्वार्थव्यतिक्रमः यदाधिन्यस्तप्रेयत्वम् आत्मना स्वव्यतिक्रमात्. Translation.
Translation: There is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. Purpose: Human life is specially meant for self-realization. Self refers to the super self and the individual self, the supreme personality of Godhead and the living entity. When, however, one becomes more interested in the body and bodily sense gratification, he creates for himself obstructions on the path of self-realization. By the influence of Maya, one becomes more interested in sense gratification, which is prohibited in this world for those interested in self-realization. Instead of becoming interested in sense gratification, one should divert his activities to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Soul. Anything performed contrary to this principle is certainly against one's self-interest. Hare Krishna.
Now, Sanat Kumarji says, Natah parataro loke pumsah swartha vyatikramaha. Vyatikramaha, that there is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's own self-realization. So people want to become swarthi, but because they don't understand what the swa is, people think swa is the body, swa is the different extensions of the body. But swa, when one realizes what the swa is, and then one will redefine what the swartha is. So the real swartha is to think the real self-interest is nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the swartha for the human life is especially self-realization. Right? This is the swartha. Because wherever, say somebody goes to Switzerland to enjoy life, and he's on a vacation of 8 days, and he's supposed to, go around, move around, but there he starts washing pots. He says, "No, I have just come here with 5 lakh rupees to spend for 5 days. I will wash pots here for 3 days and earn more 3 lakh rupees and spend." So one will say, "Arey, you are already in a place where you are supposed to enjoy. Why you are washing pots?" Right? You are not understanding how to take full advantage of that place. You can wash pots anywhere else. Similarly, the human form of life is especially meant for the self-realization. The other activities that is being done, which are common between humans and animals. Previous verse we talked about animals. How they have considered to be lost. Mahabharata says these are the four: ahar, nidra, bhayamaithunam cha. सामान्यमेतत् पशुभिर्नराणां धर्मो हि तेषाम् अधिको विशेषो धर्मेण हीन पशुभिर समान. So this dharmena hina, right, is actually the special prerogative to practice dharma is in the human form of life. And therefore, any other activity, again, we have to understand with time, place, circumstances, and progressive realization of this. But this has to be clear that any other activity is simply an obstruction to the real swartha gati, right? So people confuse sense gratification with self interest. And thus, just like they confuse body with the soul, similarly, they will confuse sense gratification with self interest. And thus, entire opportunity of the human form of life is completely lost. So, text 33. Nice verse. We'll recite this one. Arthindriyartha
Arthendriyartha-vidhyanam
Arthendriyartha-vidyanam
sarvartha paravo nrinam
sarvapahano nirvam
भ्रंशितः ज्ञान विज्ञानात्
भ्रंशितो ज्ञान विज्ञाना
Vishito
येनाविशति मुख्यताम्.
Yena Vishati
येनाविशति
Mukhyata.
मुख्यताम्.
Translation.
For human society, constantly thinking of how to earn money and apply it for sense gratification brings about the destruction of everyone's interests. When one becomes devoid of knowledge and devotional service, he enters into spaces of life like those of trees and stones. Purport. Jnana or knowledge means to understand one's constitutional position, and Vijnana refers to practical application of that knowledge in life. In the human form of life, one should come to the position of Jnana and Vijnana. But if despite this great opportunity, one does not develop knowledge and practical application of knowledge through the help of a spiritual master and the Shastras, in other words, if one misuses this opportunity, then in the next life, he is sure to be born in a spaces of non-moving living entities. Non-moving living entities includes hills, mountains, trees, plants, etc. This stage of life is called Punyatam or Mukhyatam, namely making all activities zero. Philosophers who support stopping all activities are called Shunyavadi. By nature's own way, our activities are to be gradually diverted to devotional service. But there are philosophers who, instead of purifying their activities, try to make everything zero or void of all activities. This lack of activity is represented by the trees and the hills. This is a kind of punishment inflicted by the laws of nature. If we do not properly execute our mission of life in self-realization, nature's punishment will render us inactive by putting us in the form of trees and hills. Therefore, activities directed toward sense gratification are condemned herein. One who is constantly thinking of activities to earn money and gratify the senses is following a path which is suicidal. Actually, all human society is following this path. Some way or other, people are determined to earn money or get money by begging, borrowing, or stealing, and applying that for sense gratification. Such a civilization is the greatest obstacle in the path of self-realization.
Yes. So now here, what people think artha is only the economic development. So we have seen what is the swartha is. And now here Sanat Kumarji says, what people think of artha is only about the economic development, and thus they are uh, ruined or the devoid of knowledge and devotional service. They are supposed to be born as Mukhyatam or immovable life. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains there is jnana. Jnana is the knowledge, and vijnana, that is practical application of the knowledge in the human life. Right. And with the help of Guru and Shastra and Sadhu, that tripod, sorry, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, one is supposed to apply this knowledge in one's life. But If one misses this chance and simply understands the artha means money, and look at the Bhagavatam understanding, one who is constantly thinking of how to earn money and apply for sense gratification brings about the destruction of everyone's interest. Right? So, constantly thinking of money. Of course, this doesn't mean money is not important. Neither thinking of money is bad, but the point here is constantly. Right? That's what the stress being given here. So one should think of money. Of course, one should think of money, provided that one is in proper, the means are righteous means, and another thing is one is in that particular time frame of expanding one's career, settling one's career, and then once the thoughts of money should become progressively secondary. The thoughts of contribution, service to society, and especially spiritual service to society should take place. Prabhupada writes here, there are many philosophers who promote Shunyavad. And Prabhupada says doesn't have to even directly practice Shunyavad. Simply by missing the opportunity of the human form of life and the devoid of knowledge and devotional service, people are going to become Shunya or as good as Shunya. Shunya means devoid of activities. Prabhupada says, instead of purifying activities, people want to nullify their activities, avoid the activities. That is not the purpose. Just like somebody is sick. Purpose is not that, and somebody is sick and therefore asked not to move. Purpose is not to move. Purpose is to get cured and then have a natural movement. Similarly, one who is constantly thinking of the activities to earn money and gratify the senses is following such a suicidal path. And therefore, practicing content and satisfaction is very important. So there is a fine balance between Arjuna is also called as Dhananjay, right? He's always on the spree of acquiring more money, and Arjuna is also greatest devotee. So there is a fine balance between practicing content and satisfaction, and at the same time being progressive in one's life, right? Till the time of 50, 55 or something like that, and then one will slowly wind up the material activities and focus more on the spiritual activities. Sometimes devotees, in the name of being content and satisfied, may forego the material advancement, and which is not highly recommended. Practicing renunciation beyond one's realization may lead to regret in the future life, right? And therefore, one has to realize what one's position is. Honestly, one has to accept that position and progressively advance in spiritual life. Text 35. Text 34. न कुर्यात् कर्हिचित् सङ्गं तमः तीव्रं तितीरिषुः धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्षाणां यदत्यन्त विघातकम्. Translation.
Those who strongly desire to cross the ocean of nescience must not associate with the modes of ignorance, for hedonistic activities are the greatest obstruction to realization of religious principle, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and last, liberation. Purport: the four principles of life allow one to live according to religious principles, to earn money according to one's position in society, to allow sense to enjoy the sense objects according to regulations, and to progress along the path of liberation from the material attachment. As long as the body is there, it is not possible to become completely free from all these material interests. It is not, however, recommended that one act only for sense gratification and earn money for that purpose only, sacrificing all religious principle. At the present moment, human civilization does not care for religious principles. It is, however, greatly interested in economic development without religious principle. For instance, in a slaughterhouse, the butcher certainly get more money easily, but such business is not based on religious principles. Similarly, there are many nightclubs for sense gratification and brothels for sense gratification. Sense gratification, of course, is allowed in married life, but prostitution is prohibited because all our activities are ultimately aimed at liberation, at freedom from the clutches of material existence. Similarly, although the government may license liquor shops, This does not mean that liquor shops should be opened unrestrictedly and illicit liquor smuggled. Licensing is meant for restricting. No one has to take a license for sugar, wheat, or milk because there is no need to restrict these things. In other words, it is advised that one not act in a way that will obstruct the regular process of advancement in spiritual life and liberation. The Vedic process of sense gratification is therefore planned in such a way that one economically develop and enjoy sense gratification and yet ultimately attain liberation. Vedic civilization offers us all knowledge in the Shastras, and if we live a regulated life under the direction of Shastras and Guru, all our material desires will be fulfilled. At the same time, we will be able to go forward to liberation.
Sanat Kumarji explains now, those who strongly desire to cross the ocean of nescience, right? So these are strongly desiring to cross the ocean of nescience. They are called as mumukshu or titirishu, right? This is a new word, titirishu. What they should do or what they should not do. For them, should not associate with the modes of ignorance. For the hedonistic activities are the present are the greatest obstruction to dharma, artha, and kama moksha. And typical words used are atyanta vighatakam. Okay, so vighatakam itself means huge obstruction, ghatak, and atyanta means very highly obstructive. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the four principles of life allow one to live according to the religious principles. So, which are these four principles? There are various four principles. So, there is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which are being discussed here. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshanam. Then there is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Right? So, this is how one will progressively go from one ashram to another. And the focus is leading a religious life. Prabhupada says, as long as body is there, it is not possible to become completely free from the bodily necessities. They will always be there, material interest will always be there, right? But the present moment, what has happened is, people have lost their interest. Previously, artha happened because of dharma. You perform dharma, you will get dharma, artha. Dharma will lead to artha. Artha will lead to satisfaction of the desires, kama. And then eventually, when the whole thing will lead to moksha. Now, people are hardly interested in dharma. People directly want artha and kama, and nobody is interested in moksha. So, dharma and moksha are being neglected. Artha and kama is being only encouraged. And Prabhupada says such a civilization or such people can never be happy. Previously, there was some licensing, right? There is some restriction on sense gratification. And because there was restriction on sense gratification, there was always the, a kind of innocent curiosity and also a kind of, anticipation of the of the object or, of the event. Like, for example, previously, just 20 years back, when chakli and, was the Diwali item, you used to eagerly wait for Diwali and used to eagerly wait for, your mother making chakli and we were happily taking the chakli, right? When sweet, like, something peda was like somebody is passed some exam or something like that, that time. And then there was, there was a curiosity, agla peda kab milega, chakli kab milegi. There was anticipation, there was, and happiness also when we attain those objects, right? But with the abundance, what has happened is it has become just a day-to-day item. You go to any chitade shop or kaka halwai, you can just buy chakli, you can just buy peda, you can buy dokla, whatever is required. Just throw some cash and the item is yours. So what happens is because of that excessive indulgence, unrestricted sense gratification, and of course, Srila Prabhupada is discussing some other levels of sense gratification here. The restrictions have completely gone, and thus people have indulged unrestrictedly in those activities, and people are suffering for those activities, right? Unrestricted eating is leading to obesity, is leading to blood pressure, sugar, and so many cholesterol problems. Unrestricted sense gratification are leading to so many different other things. So, in other words, Prabhupada says it is advised not to act in a way that will obstruct the regular process of advancement in spiritual life and liberation. And this is how the Vedic process was very systematically defined, right? There was, of course, a place for karma, but life did not begin with karma. Life began with dharma, artha, and then there was a karma, and then there was moksha. And this is how, there was a smooth functioning of the life. Prabhupada says, therefore, if we live a regulated life under the direction of Shastra and Guru, all our material desires also will be fulfilled. And at the same time, we will be able to go forward to liberation. We will attain Kama, we will also attain Moksha, provided we follow Dharma very well and earn Artha, with dignity. So there is an Artha forum. So Artha, this is that Artha is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha wala Artha forum. And where, many entrepreneurs, especially devotee entrepreneurs, come together. And they have a very beautiful slogan. Their slogan is earn with integrity and spend with compassion. Okay. So that is the Artha Forum. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
everyone.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, it was written that if somebody has too much desire for money or excessive attachment for money, they become stones or trees.
Yeah, right.
Just want to understand the correlation between the desire and trees. I know that if someone has would like to stay without clothes, they become trees because they don't have clothes. So that is relatable. Just want to
Yeah,
understand
right.
this.
Right. A very simple example. There is in the Greek, the folk tales, there is a story of this king Midas touch. He just wanted everything to be turned into gold, 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 and everything. You know that story, right? And he got a benediction that whatever he touches will become into a gold.
Okay.
And he was so excited. He started touching his palace. He started touching his, chariot. It became of gold. He touched his sword. It became gold. And he was so excited. So much money, money, money everywhere. Finally, you know, he wanted to eat something. He touched his food, that became gold. He touched his water, that became gold. He was hungry, starving. His daughter came running, and daughter was inquiring, Papa, what happened? And then he touched his daughter also became gold, stone, right? Or so excessive attachment to karma leads to being a tree, that we have seen in the Lukuvar grave. Similarly, Prabhupada says excessive attachment. So why the stone is being said is, the understanding here is mukhyata. Mukhyata means immovable object. Not recently, some 10 years back, I had visited one person, some land dealing he was doing. And, famous person in our area who sells a lot of land here and there. The whole day, whenever we went, me and Krishna Kishore Prabhu used to go, we were buying some small 2 gunta of land near temple. We thought that, we'll have something. Whole day, 15 years back, 2004, 15? Long, long time back, okay. Whole day, his only job was just counting the 500 rupees ka notes. At that time, the note counting machines were not very freely available. Only with the banks they were available. Only with the main branch of the banks they were available 15 years back. Now it is available with everybody. So whole day he used to simply count money. So first time we went, we said, "Arey wah, kya life hai, We do our job and we get one bundle, and that also quickly gets over." There is no satisfaction of just continue to count that 500 rupees. what this fellow is. And then we realized after fourth, fifth visit that, hours and hours is simply counting money. I mean, is it different than a stone? Right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So this is how Prabhupada says that it becomes an immovable object. What it actually means is doesn't move in the real self-interest. That is nate vidusvartha gatim hi Vishnu. Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that excellent explanation. It was really eye-opening. Thank you so much.
Hare Hare. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhupada.